This episode of Gamerheads is brought to you by Magic Mind, the healthy energy drink that will help you take your creativity to a new level.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Mega Cat Studios.
Hey, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite, Screen Snark, and the Fun and Games podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bonte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi everyone, Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hey, this is Brimstone, and you're listening to Roger Reichart on the Gamerheads podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads podcast. My name is Roger. With me this week, I have two very special guests. I'm really excited about this episode. I have Jenny and Mari, the creators of the game Death Trick Double Blind. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. Hi.
So before we talk about the game, I just want to get to know both of you a little bit more. Tell us about yourself and what got you both into making games.
So I'm Mari. I'm the writer. I'm the producer. I do some of the programming of the game.
And I'm Jenny, and as I said, I'm in charge of all the things visual in the game, including like character design and like animations, and also including like the promotional assets like trailer editing, and also like social media
everything
managing, just like everything visual.
Yeah. So we were actually high school friends. So we went to the same high school. We were in the same year. So we've known each other for more than 10 years now.
Exactly 10 years.
Yeah, so we met each other in math class where neither of us were paying that much attention to math. So I remember Jenny doodling in her notebook, like drawing stuff. And I remember I was just playing like games on my mobile phone, and I was like writing lyrics and poetry and stuff. So I think at the time I already know I wanted to write for a living, and Jenny already knew she wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
So but at the time neither of us thought like making games is a real job.
We just thought like game is something like a big company makes, and then we just consume it.
Yeah,
you didn't know like people can make game in a small team.
Yeah. We didn't know indie game were a thing basically, but we started. We lived at school as well, so we lived in the same dorm, and we were watching these like Let's Play videos together. And there were at the time streamers on Chinese websites making videos about Japanese free games and like kind of RPG maker stuff, like The Witch's House, stuff like that. So that's kind of our earliest impression of indie games at the time that they weren't even called indie games. But we were kind of really inspired by like the narratives and stuff. I remember one of the Let's Players playing this game. I think it was on itch.io called Presentable Liberty. I don't even know which website it's on because at the time we didn't even have Steam or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of the earliest interaction with indie games that we had. Yeah.
Nice.
And then we graduated university. By then I was a like Steam indie game player. And then I saw this company, our studio, Misty Money Studio, post their trailer on social media. So I followed them and I saw them, looking for game designers. So I applied. And 3 days later, they said, "Oh, we're looking for a game artist." So I hit Jenny up. I was like, "Oh, by any chance, a job?" Yeah, she was. So long story short, we end up at the same studio together. And then after we finished our previous project with the whole studio, we proposed to our boss basically that the two of us want to form a tiny team and make this game. together. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's quite the path. That's amazing. So what, I mean, I guess for those that are not familiar with the game, can you tell us a little bit about the game? What is this game about? And let's start there. What's this game about?
Death Trip Double Blind is like a detective story set in a 1950s American circus, and there are like two protagonists coming to the circus just to find out the mysterious magician's disappearance. And then one is a detective, like a kind of like a stereotypical detective, and then another is a replacement magician, like who's looking for to replace the missing magician. So there's two lines going at the same time, and then you as a player, you play as them to figure out what's going on in the circus and who is the true murderer. Yeah. Murder. Sorry, I just spoiled that, but everyone knows it's
okay. It happens in the you know that within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. But it's not a trailer. Yeah.
So why I'm going to ask a question that I didn't provide to you ahead of time. Why did you choose to set this in America in the 1930s? What was your thought there?
It's in the 1950s actually, but
1950s. I'm sorry.
I will give you a complete breakdown of our thought process.
Yeah.
We had this idea for a detective story first, without figuring out the setting, because we just had this idea about a case, and then we started looking at which setting we felt would fit the game best. So we very quickly decided on a circus. I don't know why. It's just one of those thoughts that pop up in your head.
Yeah.
And once we decided on a circus, we looked at the history of circus.
I don't. Yeah.
Circuses. I'm not sure myself, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and turns out the traveling circus is kind of a very uniquely American invention. It was because at the time, a lot of European circuses were actually only in one city, and they performed there like kind of like a routine show. But then in America, because the land was so vast and they wanted to seek out audience everywhere, they started this business model of traveling on trains and going to every city like every other day, every other week. And then it was later also utilized in Europe and all over the world, and American traveling circuses even moved continents to perform in other in other continents. So it's a kind of an American concept, and we kind of like this idea of a traveling circus because detective games are always set in a kind of isolated setting. Detective stories, I guess, like it's always a private island or like a mansion that no one can go in and out, like it's snowing. And we thought a circus would be an interesting take on it because it is open. There are a lot of people going in and out, but in a way, because they travel with each other and they are kind of in their own little community. In a way, it's still a very close community with a very limited cast of suspects. So we thought it would be an interesting take on the detective trope.
Yeah, I like that. And I will say, like, you both did a lot of research because in full disclosure, I've been playing the game and I was like, wow, like you both did some research on American circuses and like stuff that I didn't even know myself. So like kudos to both of you. Like that was amazing.
Yeah, I enjoy reading about circus stuff. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. It is. It's a weird time. I live in Wisconsin, so actually Circus World Museum is not that far from me, so like it's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
We should go there actually.
I was talking with Jenny because Jenny went to college in Rhode Island, and when I was doing the research, I realized one of the last shows that Ringling Circus ever performed was like in Rhode Island. So I was like, oh, did you hear about this when you were there, because the timeline overlapped? And Jenny was like, I know this venue. It's just like it's really close. It's like a
5 minutes walk. It's like Dunkin' Donuts Center. So it's called Dunkin' Donuts Center because like it's sponsored by. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And at that time, I didn't like ever heard of. Like I wasn't interested in the circus. I didn't know at all. But I feel like I could go because it's their like last. Is that their last show?
Yeah, their last ever show.
Yeah. That's crazy. I missed their last ever show.
At the time, who would know that this would happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's in the Ringling Circus actually got its start in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And they do still perform if you want to know at the Circus World Museum. There is performances that do happen. So they don't travel anymore, but they still perform here. So. And I'll just go off of that a little bit too. It must have been fun to draw the characters and of that time, right? Because all the characters, like the dress and was just so like unique, right? And like over the top with the circus. That must have been really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like, we had a little character like discussion between me and Mary at the first time, and then she just like line out all the personalities, characteristics, and then like I had this PowerPoint, handed to me, and then I was like, okay, like she has also like some references from movies or TV series, like who is like whom in like say Harry Potter or something. Like I can get a basic sense of each one's like their kind of vibe. So after that, I just like went out to look for references. And I feel like our game, the game of our art is not so realistic, especially when you see the not only the costume but also like the environment art, like their rooms and then their settings. It's actually not that fancy, but I drew them like fancy and fancier than it was like, because I just like doing like so like colorful and then like cheerful kind of art.
Where they like two people sharing a train car.
Historical circus. And also like doing circus is really nice because like if it's set in like a office or it's set in a say I don't know like in a jungle, I guess it won't be that fun to draw so many things or so many like patterns, so many colors, so many like props. It's a nice choice for me as well.
I feel like that's a part of the reason why we chose it is the visual potential.
Sure.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about the process about creating a detective game? Like, what were some of the challenges of that, and what did you like most about creating Death Trick Double Blind?
I know it's a tongue twister. Everyone is
not even.
But it makes sense. It makes sense though. Like that, I will say, like out of a lot of the titles I play, I'm like, this title totally makes sense, because once you start playing, you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I love the title.
I have to say we took a little inspiration from one of my favorite games called Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. It's also a tongue twister.
Oh yeah.
Because for this game we came up with the Chinese name first, so we knew we wanted double blind and we knew we wanted a trick in there. So I was like, but double blind trick just doesn't sound good. I don't know why. So I looked at a couple other games and I was like, this kind of two-word structure kind of sounds nice, and it has like a nice little alliteration to it. That's why it was the name. But making a detective game, I think a part of the challenge of making a detective game, especially for us, because there's only one case in this entire game, so it's a little harder to test, because we're so afraid of spoiling the players, because once they play it, they are never the same. Like you cannot use them as guinea pigs again, So So for the majority of the time when we're developing this game, like for 2 years, we didn't want to share the plot with anyone, and at one point you're just wondering if you're getting tunnel vision and like whether this case actually really makes sense or not. And I was like so worried that maybe there's a key mistake that neither of us were seeing, but like the moment one test player sees the entire game, they're gonna say, "But what about?" And I was just gonna go, "Yeah, what do I do now?" I was so worried about it. But you know, we already have. I'm glad to report we already had some test players, and they didn't spot a fatal mistake so far. Who knows? So that's a part of it. I guess it's different from puzzle games or like farming games where you can test as much as you want, even very frequently. For us, we have to be very careful about it.
Yeah. But there's multiple endings in this game too, right? For each character, is there not?
For each character, yeah. But the case only has one ending.
Sure, yeah. Talk about then the characters. What was your approach of developing the characters, and who are some of your favorite characters?
I know we're not supposed to pick favorites. It's kind of like they're all our favorites. but we do have favorites. I feel like I can do that. Yeah, no one's feeling will get hurt because they're fictional characters.
But who likes other characters who will get hurt? Like, when the dev is not picking the... I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, I think the process of writing the characters is kind of just like, at the beginning, you know, it's a PowerPoint that I gave to Jenny, or we discussed together, you know, how old should this character be, which cultural background, you know, what kind of family background they have, so what kind of personality they have, and we do reference a few characters just to get the personality quickly across. I feel like I do have favorites. So I think Yan is one of my favorite because obviously she shares a very similar cultural background with us. You know, she's Chinese, and when writing her, I think there are some stories in there that's taken from our experiences or the experiences of our family relatives growing up. She's very near and dear to me. Aideen, I think, is everyone's favorite. From our test playing results so far, everyone likes her. And she's kind of, I think, a linchpin in the story because she's she has more complicated relationships with everyone in the circus. So like all the plot plans kind of tied to her in a way. So I think I think she's definitely one of our favorites. Yeah, I have so many. It's very hard to pinpoint each one. I have different favorites every day. But Echo is one of my favorite characters to write because he's insulting. He has a very mean demeanor, but sometimes that's just so fun to write because you get to get out your mean side and say, you know, all your quips that are too rude to say to real people.
He's actually pretty popular among the test players.
Yeah, they either hate him or they love him.
I was really surprised. I was like, oh, it must be like really hard for people to like. I don't know. I just every time I play the game, I try to avoid speaking to him.
I have one player that's like, you know how when you try to present a contradiction in the game, if you're wrong, you know, there will kind of tell the character will kind of tell you you're wrong. So you know, some players because they turned contradiction hint on, they knew they have a contradiction, but they couldn't quite figure out what it is. So they will try a lot of times with the characters, but they just didn't try with Echo, and I was like, why? You know, like, he's so mean, and I get something wrong, that I don't want to try again because he's just gonna mock me again. And he's like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know, you did well when you hit a nerve like that, saying, well, I don't know if I want to talk to that person, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's all in good fun.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a very impressive character.
He leaves a strong impression.
I will say, like, what I love about the characters is just each one of them feels so unique and well written. And obviously well designed too. So that's what I really love. I mean, this all comes together. It's really well done. Yeah. One thing I will say about the characters, which I thought was kind of interesting, So all the other characters you see like what they look like, but the main characters, the two main characters, are silhouettes. There's a couple times where you get to see them, right? When and I'm not going to actually say it because I would spoil it, but there are a couple times where you can see when they look in a mirror, right? And you can see, but for the most part, they're silhouettes. Can I ask what inspired that? Like, why did you go that route with the characters, the main characters?
Yeah, it's a little. I mean, it wasn't like an entirely conscious decision, I think. A part of it is because they are supposed to be the players, and I feel like maybe some older visual novel games do this, that where they don't have a sprite for the player characters. I don't know, because I think they think it will be easier for you to put yourself in the place of that character, but that's not really our thought process. For us, it's kind of just like, one thing for us is, I think this is more a story about the circus characters and what's happening there. So we wanted the attention to be there. We wanted the characters you're speaking to be in center screen instead of the two of them having a conversation. So I guess a part of it is a stylistic choice. We think the detective or the magician are supposed to be more kind of witnesses to the story, and obviously, they're here to solve the case and move everything forward. But ultimately, we say this is the lives of these circus members that this is happening to, and for them, they're kind of just passing by in this complicated story. So we to be honest, maybe at the beginning we just thought they weren't as important characters as everyone else in the circus. But as I was writing them, I think I began to give them a little bit more personality, backstory, and I ended up liking the characters a lot more than the empty concept at the beginning.
Yeah. The other thing we know to mention, but I'm gonna talk more about it. I love the art in this game.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah. What were some of the artistic influences you had behind the game's visuals?
Actually, I could not really name like a specific, like say movies or like a comic or something, but I just looked up in a lot of circus references, like how do they firstly like remember the rooms, like the rooms on the train, and then so I looked up on the like the train at that time, and then like how long, like what shape it should be, and then it should be like a rectangular and long shape. So I was like plan accordingly, like how should I fit like a bed into that, and then how should I, like if I am say in the first train is room for Yan and Aideen, so for the acrobat and the fire dancer. So I was imagining if I'm living in the train, what should I what do I need? Like I need a vanity desk, because like I am Aideen, like I love like doing the makeup, and then like doing some little about like of my clothing, and then I need to have the wardrobe. But it's also like a sharing place for me and Yan. So Yan, like she has a little bed next to the wall, and then like we have a sharing little table so we can share our dinner. So it's like more about like me trying to be the characters in the circus, and then imagining like how I can put things into the environment and then make it into like a nice image, and also it's really fun. Like I was talking to Mari, like by the end of the game, I was so the procedure I do the art is like I do like a background for like 2 months, and then I do like animation for like 3 months, and then I do like CG for 2 months. So it's like it's a big chunk of time. So by the end of the developing process, I was making the CG, and then I was getting a little upset because I was talking to Mari. I feel like I'm waving goodbye to them because I just like I feel like know them all. They're like my parasocial relationship friend. So like and then endings for them, I feel like, oh, I'm just like waving goodbye to them. It feels a little bit sad. And then I also made a social media post about it, like making characters are nice, but when you realize that your characters are just virtual characters and then they really didn't existed, it makes me have an existential crisis.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really like weird about creating those characters.
Yeah. That's I love that. But I mean, again, I love the art and I love how all that comes together, the characters and the art, and it just feels real. Like that's one thing that I was just really, that's the one thing I took away from the game, is just how real the characters felt and how beautiful the art and the world that you built. Like it's really well done. You both did a really fantastic job with that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was just like, I'm not that, I did not stick so close to the realistic circus world, because the realistic circus world is like kind of, maybe it's more shabby than that. Yeah, they just
That is
travel
true.
a lot, so it's
Yeah.
they travel a lot, so the tent must not be like really fancy, and there might not be like a really nice, clean living area. But I'm trying just to like build dreamy and fancy world, so like people can kind of like relate to the when the children like see a circus, right? When we were really small, I remember when I was really small, and then there's like a Chinese circus going around, and I was like, I got a chance to see it, and actually it was really shabby. And then as I remember it was kind of shabby, but at that time I was really fascinated about it. I didn't see anything like really like bad. I just feel like, wow, that's a really magical world. So yeah, it's so I did some fancy like art for the circus, just to recreate that kind of feelings. Yeah.
What do you hope players take away from their experience with the game?
We hope for the a part of the game, I mean, obviously it's the detective story, so we hope, I think the best result you can get from a detective story is like, they say, I didn't expect that, but I should have. So, it's kind of like, it surprised me, but when I know the answer and then I look at it back, everything all makes sense. I think that's the best result. It shouldn't be, oh, that's surprising because that came out of nowhere, but it shouldn't also be, oh, I saw that from a mile away. So hopefully we hit somewhere in that sweet spot in the middle. And I think we talk so much about the characters because truly, I mean, while this is a detective story, we care a lot about these characters, and we hope people after playing the game feel a little bit of that emotion of feeling like they're your friends, and not that we want you to develop this parasocial relationship with them, but just care about them a little bit on some level, and I feel or relate to a bit of their story, even if it's only a piece of a anecdote that they are talking about in the game. So yeah, there is a lot of opportunities for chatting with these characters about whatever you want, basically, because each piece of evidence in the game you can ask any character and they pretty much always have a unique answer for you. And that's that was a lot of work, but we hope
I was gonna say,
it pays off in that you feeling like this journey was your own, and perhaps no other player have the same exact experience as you, and you feeling like you've discovered these little like details or secrets about these characters and their past, as well as solving the case.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Jenny? What do you hope that players take away from the game?
From I think it's the same, because me and Mary were talking about, like, I was like really get really conscious about what if people know like the tricks and everything and like the murderer and they will get not interested in the game, and then we after the conversation, and then we both agreed that it's okay, like even if you know who's the real murderer at the beginning, like we are still really confident about you can enjoy it. Yeah, we are pretty confident.
We hope so.
Yeah, about you can enjoy the story as well, even though you know the answer to the murder case. Yeah,
it's not about the ending; it's about the journey.
It's about the journey.
Yeah,
like
yes,
I feel like
yeah.
also we have a lot of like comics as a during the conversation with the characters, and then you gradually know like how they know each other at the first time, and then how being in the circus was like. So it was really those little nice moments, and also like there are so many great dialogues. My personally favorite like, so I will like go back, and then like every time I will go that road, and then I will read those like nice dialogues I really like. So I feel like if I'm a player, I will be like moved by those dialogues. That would be really nice. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
still the story, like the story of the characters is really important for people to carry on.
Yeah. So this may not be a fair question, but I'm going to ask anyway. What's next?
Yeah, to be completely honest, we don't even know. Like, I mean, some people already asked us if we have a DLC plan. The answer is no. We feel like by the time you finish the game, you will understand that it's a complete story and it's wrapped in a way that we feel like is best for the story, and we didn't really plan to add more than that, because unlike some games may have like 1, 2, 3, 4 cases, so it's easier for them to say like, hey, here's a 5th case. But for us, the whole game is one big intertwined
web
of story, so it's hard to insert any more things into that. So I won't say never, but like unless we have a really good idea for a story and how to do it, we don't really plan to add more DLC or anything to the game. Me and still want to keep making narrative focused games, but I guess we didn't decide on anything yet, because we wanted to see how District Double Line do and like look at the feedback before we decide on a next step. We also want to take a little break, obviously. So I guess we will come back and reevaluate after the break.
Yeah. And celebrate the release of the game too. I'm sure that you want to take some time to do that as well.
Yeah, we're proud of ourselves for having finished this thing. Like, no matter how it does, but finishing it alone for us is kind of an achievement.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, like, I think that the characterization and the story and how you built out this world is just so well done. You both did such a fantastic job of creating this world. I can't wait for players to play it. And thank you so much for taking time and meeting with me and talking about Death Trick Double Blind. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
And really enjoyed this chat. Yeah.
Right,
oh, good. Thank you. All right, listeners, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, first of all, I'm going to put links in the show notes, so that way you can go out and buy the game. It is on the Switch and Steam. Is that correct?
Steam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'll put links to both of those there, so you can check that out. I think there's a demo too, right? On the Switch and maybe Steam.
Yeah, there's a demo on both. I think it's still on the Switch, and I'm not sure what's the plan for the demo after the game's release for Steam. So we will see.
Okay, awesome. So I'll put links for that, and let us know what you think of the show. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.